Hello and welcome. I'm Leanne Turner and this is Arwen Welsh, and we are going to talk about
all things light language. Well, not all things, specifically what is light language for.
and how it integrates really into our everyday life.
Yeah. I mean, I think we said last time, we both work as healers, which is quite a big
broad term.
Quite a big sort of term. And I mean, again, just to say, we can only talk about our own experiences, can't we? And
and everyone's is going to be different.
That other people have other experiences. So just to say that. But yeah, I mean, I've found that when I'm doing sessions with people, that the light language works on multiple levels and in certainly ways that I wasn't expecting when I started. So we tend to think of healing, the purpose of healing, to being about clearing negative energy, I suppose, and energy blocks, But what sort of fairly quickly became apparent is that the light language does so much more than that, doesn't it? And the wonderful thing is, it's almost imperceptible at the time. It's so gentle. You
don't realise. I always say to people, never underestimate what we have just achieved.
Yeah, exactly. So we, as healers, often feel, and to be fair, sometimes they do too, can feel the shift in energy, when we're working. But other aspects of it, I guess, are things like activating DNA.
I think the impact also is down to the individual, because we'll do it and we can know what hopefully will come from it, but if the soul's not ready for that next jump, it will only activate, clear, cleanse, whatever it's going to do as much as that person.
Yes, exactly.
And it can carry on working. I mean, even like 6 months down the line, it's really lovely when you hear people go, oh my God, I've done this. And I always say to people that the first initial week is like, you can have as much of a high as you can a low, because you're pulling everything out, but it carries on working over a process of time. It's not a quick fix and it's done. It's a process.
Yeah, exactly. And I think another area which is sort of kind of linked to the activating DNA, really, because that's all about is linked to raising our vibrations and allowing us to hold more light. So the light language will create room energetically by clearing things, but also on a very physical level in your body. It will start the process of adapting your body so that it can do that and hold more light, which is absolutely marvellous.
Amazing.
Well, it is amazing, yeah. But yeah, what you were saying about whether people are ready, because sometimes, we hear, and it has happened to some of the clients that I work with, where they then begin to speak light language. So it can also be activating their own relationship with their higher self and soul, to the point where they start remembering their other lives and speaking light language. But that can be instant.
Yeah, I've had it during a session.
During a session. But equally, as you said, you can have somebody contact you sort of 6 months or well, not 6 months for me, I think it was about 2 or 3 months, and they've started speaking light language. And even I've seen people that I've worked on starting to talk light language publicly and share it with people, which is beautiful. So that's another sort of aspect to it. I suppose one of the most interesting facets of how it works is that it doesn't just work. Any time you speak light language, it doesn't just work on the individual, it works on the collective. And that took me a little while to sort of twig that was what was happening.
There's bits in there for everyone, isn't there? It's like when we channel or we do our sessions and we put them out for everybody to hear, there will be little bits of it that will upgrade, clear, and there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this, the fact that how you light language will change as well.
Yes, it does.
So yeah, it's not, I know within my sessions, I could start clearing an area, working on an area, and all of a sudden another one comes in.
And
another
language.
one. Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, oh, not heard that one before.
Yeah.
And it's just because that soul needs that one, and that's their language.
Well, and each of the different languages, you're right, has a different energy
Frequency,
with it, a different frequency. And of course, as we mentioned in the last session, different information and knowledge that is coming through. So yes, I have similar, and also when I'm channeling just for the collective in videos, and you can hear it. You can hear it when you listen back. That you sort of start off. I don't know if you start off talking Lyran, and then very often they're working on material surroundings, or perhaps our relationship with material things and that kind of thing, and then it will shift, and there'll be some Arcturian come in, or if they're working on, if the gentle energy is required and there's some deep healing, also bringing in some calm energy. Lemurian will step in, and that is a lovely thing. So quite often we'll start off talking one light language, and then, as you said, more come in, and
some of them merge as well, don't they?
They can do, yeah.
It's almost like a blend.
Yeah.
The more you allow, the more they blend, and it just becomes so natural.
Well, and it's that team thing, isn't it? So they're working together as a team, which I find lovely. The only one, I suppose, and we've talked about this before together, the only one that I find it does work quite sort of, what's the word, independently, if you like, when they come in, is dragon energy, and it's usually where there's some really strong energy. Sometimes perhaps we might have an energetic attachment or something like that needs to be cleared, and sent on their way. And quite often, I find dragon energy does sort of come in to do that. And you always know when that happens, because it's you can hear the strength, the power of that energy, and the command that they have.
It's almost like it commands attention.
Yeah.
You
need to
I'm
go
doing
now.
it. Yeah. Don't mess with me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it is fascinating, and the other sort of thing is, which is a big subject in itself, is the work. Not just working collectively in terms of people on the planet, but working on the energy of the planet herself. Yes. I know that you do energetic grid work, and that was also something that I started doing very quickly and early on. And I suppose some of the astral travel is related to that. You're kind of then working on other planets doing a similar thing, whether it's clearing energy or working on the collective of another planet or whatever. And I think, well, my personal experience has been where what happens, well, there's a few really, but one of the things that will happen is there will be a certain place, a certain point in history, and they will take me there where there has been some significant event, and the energy has then stayed, if you like, in the Earth's grid. So, one example I had was I did have one that quite upset me actually for a little while. I had to do my own clearing afterwards. Was going and clearing that energy around the nuclear bombs in Hiroshima. And I've forgotten Nagasaki, I think it was, wasn't it? And that because you see it, because you see what's happened, as it sort of happens and everything. Yeah. And it was literally like putting people back together, and then the energy, on the Earth's grid was cleared as well. First World War, done that in trenches. I remember one where there was a mass poisoning of priestesses in a temple in Greece. That was another one. So I mean, so it can happen like that. But then I'll talk about it in a minute, let you talk about some of your experiences first, but then there is the other thing about bringing energy onto the planet, which I think is more along the lines of what you do, isn't it?
Well, it's fascinating what you've just been saying, because I think I made a pact a long time ago, even when I do my healing, and I've always said I'll clear and work on anything, but I always ask that I don't get like you were saying, you can be put there and you know what's happened. I find it too emotional.
It is emotional. Yeah, it can be.
So I ask for it to be shown in lines and layers, because I can't. I mean, even when I work on clients, I don't like to see what they've been through, because then it's. I mean, as you say, I'm an emotional wreck anyway. So if it's too painful, because I live it through them and for them, and I can't do that, because it's detrimental to my earthly body now. So by seeing it in lines and grids. So it's very strange, because sometimes when I go to a new place, so we were talking about, I put my feet on the floor. Sometimes you'll see me put my hands on the floor as well, and I just bring my heart energy out, and I close my eyes, and it's almost like an energy bomb's hit, and I see it ripple out.
Pulses out.
Yes. And then I feel it ripple back in, and as it ripples back in, it ripples back from here, so I know that it's cleansed. And that's the only way I can describe it. And I've done that most places I've been to.
It's lovely.
So I don't see.
You're a blessing wherever you go.
I think that's beautiful, because then to me you touch people without knowing and without them knowing. So by doing that, everyone who puts their feet on that, every animal, every plant has got that unconditional love without even realising. Because I know what it's like, and you probably do. I know what it's like to walk on land and feel pain.
Yeah.
And it was strange. So when I went off to Australia, it was so beautiful to put my feet on the land, and although they've had pain out there, and I could feel that from the indigenous people, and that hurt, but over here there's so much trauma within our land. And like you were saying, you've got world wars and things like that, but I'm talking not just big things. I mean, I can remember going to a pub and like leaning up like this and onto this piece of wood, and all of a sudden I could feel something around my neck, and I saw my life flash before me. I was having like sweats, and I was like, whoa, I moved away, and it stopped. And I was like, whoa, did it again. I was like, looked around, and the person I was standing with goes, oh my God, look up there. And there was a plaque, and the piece of wood I was leaning against was where they used to be hung from.
There you go. It's a classic example of how the planet, it does hold energy, and we do feel it. I just think often people aren't aware that is what they're feeling, but we've all had that experience of going somewhere and feeling like, I just don't feel comfortable, I don't like it here, and it will be because there's underlying energy. But the tricky thing is that sometimes if our soul has had an experience, or even has been up to that place, I had a life there, but regardless, if it's had an experience that can relate to that energy, that can trigger.
It's a healing process for
that
you
can
as well,
be a trigger, which we don't always realise. And sometimes people say, I don't know why I'm feeling like this, or it's ever since I went here, or and that will be what it is. It's because there's a resonance that you've noticed on a soul level and then a physical level, and it's come back into your reality and ready to be cleared. But I mean, I take your point, and I did sort of learn from that to not ever work through sort of what I call is to bring in the energy of your soul and to work through your heart, and not actually use your own energy from this incarnation, if you like. Because then you're giving your energy away.
You have to learn that one though,
you
do.
And then you're creating a link as well, which then you have to clear, which is what happened to me. So you do learn that quite quickly, and I think also you do learn that through doing one-to-one sessions with people, because you're going to get tired
Yeah.
You know, it's going to start affecting your energy when you're going in and clearing for other people. It's so easy, if you don't know what you're doing or haven't learnt that lesson, to take on that energy yourself. And then, so you look at the other person, it's cleared.
Yeah.
Well,
and
yeah,
it knocks you on
kiss
your
us in,
bottom. Yeah. God, in the early days, I'd be like doing a session, then have to have like a few days because I was on my backside.
Yeah.
Well, now it's really lovely because whenever I work on people, I always leave my heart link open for a week. And it's something that I've always done. But now I can leave it open and not get drained.
Not get drained, yeah.
Because that's a flow. And then at the end of the week, I'll message again just to check everyone's okay. And then I will send that one blast of unconditional love. And then as I go to bed, I cut them because I know that I've given them a week for that transition to still feel that. And I always say to them, if you feel you need to tap into that, do it. Put your hand on your heart, bring up me in your focus, and feel free to absorb it because there's so much there.
There is so much
It's
there.
a shame to waste it.
Yeah, well, that's right. But yeah, so I think that's quite important for anybody that's now coming into using light language or any other form of healing, really, is to just make sure that you are using that energy, not your own energy.
I think it's like everything. Even you're never gonna understand until you've done it the other way and you've realised, and then when you switch and realise that you're abundant in what you have.
You're like a conduit, is how I call it. It's like you're a conduit, and it sort of comes through you. And
I always say I put my hand on my heart, and I'm an infinite flow of unconditional love. So there's just I could wrap the world in it and the universe, and I know there's still plenty to go around. So where beforehand, like you said, you would tap in, and I'd be like, I'd given them everything I had on offer. And then they'd still want more, and I'd be like, oh God, can I really do this?
But you're giving your power away, aren't you? You are literally giving your power away. So and then it won't take very long before you can't work at all. So it is quite important. But yeah, just sort of getting back to the Earth's grid. You know, you were talking about working with lines and energy and so on, in a sort of more visual way, if you like. But the other aspect of grid work is literally, and you can see them if you are clairvoyant, I suppose, but you don't have to be. You can feel them as well, and some people can hear them. Is bringing down energy from the cosmos. Really, I mean, it's ultimately it's source energy. It's source energy. But it's also information from other places in the galaxy that is now pertinent and able to be used on this planet because of the shift in frequency. And I've seen it, and this I know for both of us happens at night time, or quite often, not always, but usually.
More relaxed,
usually at night time, and off we go. And you can see, I tend to see, it used to be like a blue or pink water coming down and being and sort of splashing and then collecting on the Earth's grid for the purposes of cleansing unwanted energies and trauma. But about 2 months ago, it became golden, which I thought was it gave me such a lovely feeling in my heart, and this beautiful like golden liquid sort of falling down onto the planet to cleanse the Earth's grid. So that's that it can take that form as well. So you're not necessarily going back to a specific event or something like that. It's more along the lines kind of what you're talking about, where you just bring in whatever is required to
and they show you in different ways, isn't it, for different times as well. It's like we were talking earlier on when we've both done work on the grid as a collective as well as doing your own soul bit for it. I was saying to you, I saw crystals. I was placing them for a long time in places all over the world.
Oh, the discs.
No, these were like crystal. Your points. So it's got like a rounded end, and then it would come right up into a big point. And they were clear crystal quartz, and they were being placed almost like in every village, like if it was a town, there would be lots.
Lovely.
It was almost, if I could say, there would have been like a 2 mile radius or something in between each one. And that, I said to you, that went on for ages. No, it's almost like you get little assignments and I just do it.
You do.
Yeah.
And then you never hear about it again.
Yeah,
That's done.
No, and that's why I love the fact that you questioned it. I was just like, I've said I'm service, I'm open-hearted.
Yeah.
Give me in contact.
What's that about then, But I know that the golden water carries codes, so it does all have a link to the light language. That because water holds, is now becoming apparent, isn't it, scientifically, holds memory and holds information, and
it's an amplifier as well, isn't it?
It is, and cleansing. So it does sort of kind of link in quite nicely with the light language, because of course light language contains codes, and then we get back to that thing about working on our DNA and activating parts of our DNA that do understand those codes and are able to hold those codes, but we haven't been physically yet until now in a place where we can handle that. And I know there's lots of people that can talk about how that came about for the human race, going back to Atlantean times and so on, and why we ended up in this pickle. But the really good thing is now we're climbing out of it, and we're coming back into that knowledge and able to hold that knowledge and those codes.
Well, don't forget, I think when you go back to those times, we were so pure, and we had everything. But then we got introduced to greed, envy, fear, and they all took place, and they've evolved and manifested, and you have to come full circle. It's like everything. I think like in life, if you've had a good life all the way through, how do you know whether you've had a bad part? But if you've come full circle and you've experienced all of it, then when the good comes back round again, you're then going to hold on to it, and you're not going to abuse it, because you know what it's like.
Yeah, you know its value. Yeah.
And you can't understand the value of something unless you've had the flip of it.
Right. Yeah. And I think, you do see that in the collective, that sort of yearning to get back. It's as if people are starting to realise, hang on a minute, we are so much more than this, and they might not realise it for a while, but actually they're starting to remember that once they were so much more than what they are now.
And I think what the planet's been
that
through,
was who they were at one point in time.
And I think this last few years, what the whole planet has gone through, everyone on it has gone through or has been affected by what we've gone through, and that has made people almost stock take on themselves. So we were talking earlier on, like, about starting to grow your own vegetables and things like that, having the time to do that.
You're so much better.
No, but it's the little things of doing it are taking you back round again.
People want to do it. It's that desire, isn't it, collectively, to get back to something better.
It's grounding as well. You're in there. You're out in nature. You're actually, and you're knowing where your food's coming from. So you know what you're putting on it.
That's true.
So, and it's about it's about you taking control of you rather than other people controlling.
Yes, and that's the other thing, and quite often, just to go back to the idea about the planetary work, it's so important. It's such an important and perhaps less talked about aspect of light language work, because people talk about, oh goodness, what's going on in the world, and all these things are becoming so obvious, aren't they? That's what's happening. The polarity is becoming so obvious that people are looking at the leadership and organisations and where they run, and control is the word, and they're realising the manipulation and control.
Which is constant fear, isn't
it?
Which is
brings
your low,
fear, So, but the encouraging thing to say about that is that this planetary work is going on. Lots of people are doing it, so it is happening. But also that it's just a natural consequence of increasing light exposes dark. And it's balancing, and people need to realise that we are dark and light ourselves.
So it's about, like we were saying, about the feminine and the masculine energy,
yin and yang,
the yin yang, your dark and your light. We're being made to balance.
Because where it's out of balance, then there's a huge problem, and that's that we've been living like that for so long.
Yeah.
But now it is becoming so much more obvious, and that, as I said, is encouraging, and it will have that sort of tipping point, if you like, where there'll be so much light on the planet. In fact, we're already, they've explained to me that that tipping point has actually already happened. It's already happened. So there is no way that we're going back.
No.
We're only going forwards now.
Yeah. It's your earthly person. Earthly has got to catch up with the planet. I think the planet's...
Yeah, the collective, if you like.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's numbers. Yeah. Actually, really, isn't it? It's about that
the
energy.
quicker you own your rubbish.
Yep.
And balance.
The quicker we do our own work,
yes.
raise our frequency, that collective frequency is raised, that we're on a level with the planet's frequency, everything will start to change, and because it will then start to be manifested in society, and what will happen is that lower energies, lower frequencies will simply leave. And isn't that encouraging?
Yes, definitely.
So light language is great. I absolutely love it, and my goodness, doesn't it achieve a lot?
It just makes a huge difference to your life and the people around you, and tap in. Tap in and find it, because our soul has its own unique frequency. And that's
we
what
need
it is.
We need
it's a
us
soul.
all. We need all of us. Yeah,
to be doing it.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. So if you've got any questions that you'd like us to answer, please feel free to send us messages, as it would be a pleasure. And we hope you've enjoyed our chat today. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.